Hey, everybody, welcome back to Fintech Fridays. It is Friday, and I'm still Brian Vieaux, President and Chief Operating Officer at FinLocker. And I've got a good friend, longtime friend of mine, Fobby Naghmi, on. And Fobby's going to share some cool stuff that you've been working on. And then we're going to kind of just do a catch-up conversation between two old pals that have been knocking around this business for a while. Fobby, welcome.
I like that, man. A catch-up conversation.
The only difference is it's recorded, so it's for the world
So
to
we got to
see
be
and hear.
careful on what we catch up on then.
Yeah, I always joke. My great grandma and two aunts are going to be watching this, so
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll throw my mom in there for the mix. How's that?
there you go. I need another follower, so that's perfect. Fobby, welcome, man. Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
brother. Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah, before we hit record, we were kind of just commiserating on the podcast life and the fact that it's a little bit of a effort, to pull these things off. But honestly, you were one of my inspirations for doing this. Your Laugh, Lend, and Eat podcast, you were kind enough to have me on as a guest a while back, and I'm a rabid follower of the series.
The thing is it's interesting when we put these podcasts together, and I have to imagine you're in the same boat as I am, Brian. You don't really understand what you're walking. It's like that roller coaster ride. You're like, yeah, I'll do it, right? And it doesn't look so bad, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell did I just think I was doing?
Yeah.
And it's too late to get off the ride.
It is now. It is now. I've already puked on myself twice, so I might as well just stay on now.
Yeah, and after a while you get used to it. But it is. I say this with like, look, guys, if you want to create a podcast, that's awesome, and nobody will ever discourage you, as far as I know.
I'll come on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got two good guests here. You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, quality requires a lot of work. And I've seen your podcast, and you've absolutely matured. I've seen your progression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your clips are coming out better. All sorts of things are happening. People don't understand, like, we're involved in this maturation of a podcast. I got so obsessed with numbers for a while with this feed spot ranking. And like we were, I think, number 8 for a while. Then we went down to number 11, and I had to stop looking. I was like, I can't do this to myself. I'm a mortgage guy.
Right. I don't look at any of those metrics. Honestly, I started this almost 2 years ago as a favor to a friend. He had launched a platform and needed content on the platform, and he basically said, "You're at FinLocker. I'm going to have a segment called Fintech Fridays. That's your show." I'm like, "Oh, okay. What does that mean?" And what started as a favor to a friend actually turned out into something pretty cool. I tend to most of the time I have on guests that I really don't know anything about or their products. Mm-hmm. And I promise, audience, we're going to get to the part of this conversation that I don't know anything about, but I want to learn about in a moment. But so just my own curiosity comes out in those conversations, and I've kind of turned it into, if I'm curious about somebody or a company or a product, maybe there's 4 other people out there that are curious and they tune in, and it's turned into a pretty cool way for me to learn about cool people, cool companies, cool products. And I've gotten some positive feedback, from the market, so to speak, that it's helpful to them, and it has matured a little bit. I've gotten tighter. This one's probably not going to be as tight because we're already 4 minutes into it and we haven't hit on anything yet, but that's okay.
You just used the word "cool" inside the mortgage industry. That's pretty cool right there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So let's get into why I asked you to come on. I can't recall where and who I was talking to. It was about 3-4 months ago, and we're always trying to figure out different tech stacks. What's coming new to the market? Is there a place for FinLocker to be connected or not? And your name came up. That immediately kind of got me interested, and I started to hear that you and some partners have been working on a project for a bit now, and you are getting close to coming to the market with a new relationship building CRM tool. Is that right?
It is. It is. We started the project about 2.5 years ago, and I want to let you know something, by the way. And You can ask my partner John Perry about this. You, Sue Woodard, and I think Josh Friend from Accelerate were literally the impetus behind my thought process of Simpl.
Oh, wow.
Just FYI, I'm just letting you guys know because if you guys all came on my show at almost at the same time, and you guys were all talking about fintech. And the one thing that was driving me crazy, Brian, right, was the fact that we had all this technology, but none of it was being used to create B2B relationships. And look, the crude word is recruiting.
Yes.
Let's throw that out there, right? It is about recruiting, right, and growing our business models. And I remember you said something that was really, it stuck with me. You said the sun is already set on people who are not using technology, Fob.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like if and that's when I remember like calling up my buddy JP and I said, hey, can we create a CRM that would do recruiting, the thing that we do as recruiters,
Right.
could it mimic that? And that's,
Is it about mimicking it, or is it about effective scaling it? Because I
think mimicking might have been the first thought that I had when I talked to JP. You know what I mean? Because that's the way my mind works. I'm not an IT guy, right? I'm a mortgage guy, and so obviously we want to be able to, I guess the best way I can really explain it to me, right, is I wanted to get the amount of work that one recruiter does in about 8 hours, and I wanted producing managers to be able to do that 20 minutes in 3 days a week.
There you go.
That's literally what the entire goal was of Simpl, which is what we call the CRM, right? Simpl CRM.
SIMPL, right?
Yeah. And I know it's an acronym for something. I'm going to learn it one day because I keep talking about it, and I haven't learned the acronym. And literally what the ask was I pictured this producing manager, and I was a producing manager for years. You got all these fires going on, Brian. Everybody's calling you. You got a loan officer that's got a file. You got a realtor that's saying, hey, when are we going to close? You got to take 3 new loan apps. In the middle of this, some guy like me comes over and says, hey, by the way, you haven't added anybody on in 3 quarters.
Right.
What are we going to do about that? We are going to do about that, right? So
Yeah.
And then, look, some companies will say, we'll recruit for you, we'll do this for you, and some of it works, some of it doesn't always work. Let's be honest, right? So how do I really, really, really support my producing managers, right? And Simpl CRM literally became that almost like a weird, focused energy, like whatever amount of hours we didn't have was now being spent on like, how can we make, and so the carnations of Simpl started coming out, you know what I mean? And different versions of it kept coming out. And whenever something would work well, I would ask JP, hey, could you do this better? Can we now add this? ChatGPT comes out. Can we add ChatGPT into it? It's just an ask, but now the poor guy's got to go figure out how to do it.
But what struck me is, and we had a little short convo before we hit record, but what struck me during that conversation was 2 things. One, it is about relationship building. I've always been a believer, especially in the mortgage space as it relates to building teams, that if somebody is easy to relocate to your firm, they're going to be easy to unlocate from your firm.
Yeah.
And that's not to say anything other than I always believe that establishing a real relationship that's built on trust, that gets built over time, is a more solid foundation for not just being able to recruit, but to be able to retain. Because you can recruit all day long, but if you're losing the same number of people you're adding, you're not really getting ahead of the game. And so when you describe the platform as a relationship building CRM versus a recruiting CRM, we all know what the goal is. Mm-hmm. That really struck for me, because what I took away in that brief conversation is that there still has to be a level of trust between the people involved. Yeah. The tools are a way to stay connected effectively, but there still has to be that interpersonal connection and relationship that gets built.
We hired a manager here in Alexandria, Virginia, about a year ago, Trevor. I don't think he'll mind me telling the story. And when our recruiter called up and said, "Hey, would you be willing to talk to Fobby?" He was literally looking to move the company, so it was just one of those random calls. Great guy,
Yep.
great producer, never been a manager before, right? He said, "I know the name Fobby, but I don't think I know why I know the name."
Yeah.
Right? And what I try to tell people is that's that virtual relationship. That's when I'm in their universe, they're in my universe, something's connected,
Yep.
and now that cold call becomes a warm call instantly. And so how can we develop that relationship? How can we create that awareness?
Yeah.
Because I can't be in all 50 states, you know what I mean, 7 days
Yeah.
a week. It's just not possible.
That's right.
And neither can any producing manager. And that's really the goal of Simpl, is to keep you in front of your candidates, give you the tools you need to know so how you can, look, obviously getting in contact is one thing, right? We were talking about this yesterday on another show I was on, but getting in contact with the right people is also important,
Yeah.
right? So in 2023, Brian, if true story, if I had someone that had a production of I think it was 82 million in 2020 or 2021, but 94% of it was refis.
Yeah.
So,
Vapor.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love that individual, they know who I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But there's nothing there
No.
that I could really say, oh, okay, this is someone that we can add or build around, or, you know what I mean? It's like, if I don't have refinance leads for them, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do really for them, right?
Right.
And by the way, that's a lot of business, so I don't want to minimize that. I know that's
Yeah.
a lot of work that individual put in there. But at the same time, in 2023, it's not going to serve my purpose. So having that data instantly inside the Simpl CRM was critical for us.
So you have all the data on across the entire 50 states and
Yeah.
all the originators. Okay.
And it goes for 36 months. So what we really wanted to do was, that, once again, you know how I was just saying, every time John would do something, I would ask another ask, right?
Right. Right.
And so we did 12 months. Then he had 24. And I was like, John, really what would tell the true story is 36 months.
Yeah.
Now I know, okay, the guy survived 2020, came into 2021, scraped through 2022, and this is what his year-to-date looks like in 2023.
Yeah.
Now I got somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So exclusively focused on the relationship building part of the business and exclusively focused inside of our vertical, mortgage lending.
Yes.
I'm guessing here that you're using the technology yourself in your current role. Is that fair to say?
That's absolutely fair to say. Right now, our managers are, the first 30 days we launched it, it was amazing because I'll even say his name. His name is Brian. He's our manager in Chicago. Literally the last 6 months that we were working on Simpl, every time I would do something, I said, can Brian use this? Would Brian do this way? Would Brian do that way? You know what I mean? 'Cause
Sounds
Brian
like my
does
team
this,
with me.
Yeah, Brian's 25, 30 years in the industry, you know what I mean? Taking handwritten 1003 still probably. I'm kidding about that, right? But I don't recruit Fob. I do things my way.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have time. Fob, you're distracting me. I've heard it all from him. We've been together for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So my entire focus was, can Brian use this? Will he use it? We need
I
to
love
make
it.
it simple enough. In the first 30 days, he set 12 appointments with it.
There you go.
And I was like, yes. We
Very
did
cool.
it. I mean, we did it. That's
Yeah.
that's what I was looking for.
I love it. So, I mean, I joked earlier, before we hit record, you're eating your own dog food. There's nothing better than to have your own beta, environment, your beta testers. And it's even better when it's your own company because you can, you're not going to jeopardize a client relationship. All right.
Yeah.
What's the plan now? We're closing in on the middle here of, or I guess we're square in the middle of Q3. So what's the launch plan?
I mean, we want to really kind of still build another 24 months around it before we do anything, Brian, to be
Yep.
perfectly transparent.
Yep.
I don't have a desire, nor do we have a reason to go public with it at this time.
Got it.
As much as I've had friends call me, asking me about it, and I've given them demos on it, and they're like, "So how much is this per month, Fob?" And I'm like, You just got to join Homecomings.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
You know, we have the
Yeah.
relationship already, right? So we
Right,
got
right,
the
right.
trust factor already built in.
I
So,
love it.
but there's really nothing that I could say that would give them any other, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, would I ever even put this in public? I don't know, and that's also been debated.
Right.
You know, do we
Right.
want to put it in public? Do we want to create a separate company that's going to require focus, attention? And you're
yeah.
the head of FinLocker, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I mean, customer service, customer allocation, customer retention, right? I mean, there's all sorts of different things. And then, you got to have some face of Simpl that's going to go to all the conventions and shake hands. And
Yeah.
how many conventions have I seen you at, Brian, right? Shaking hands and trying to, right? So
Oh yeah.
do I really want to put myself through that?
Right.
Right? And so on today, I can tell you no. Unequivocally, I don't want to do that to myself. 24 months is the promise that I've made my managers that, hey, look, we got it exclusively for 24 months.
Right.
After that, JP and I will decide what we want to really do with it. So,
Makes
if
sense.
there is a decision, we'll look at it at the end of 2024 and see where we've developed it by then. Because in my mind, by the way, now I'll say this, and JP is going to hate when I say this, I still think there's room for improvement.
Sure, of course. Well, that's there's a little bit of mad scientist in kind of founders and creators, right? You're always tinkering because we're all our own worst critics when it comes to whatever we're focused on. And
Yeah.
so I mean, what I love about it is you have a day job, and that still has to get done. But clearly, in that day job, you saw enough gaps in processes, probably best way to put it, that technology could solve for. And so kudos to you for A, identifying those gaps, and then B, kind of, partnering up with JP and building a solution that sounds like it's addressing, if not all, most of those gaps.
Yeah, I mean, we have to embrace technology. I don't have to explain to you, Brian, but I mean, anyone listening that is not embracing technology, to your point, what you said on the show on Laugh, Learn, and Eat 3 or 4 seasons ago, right? I mean, the sun has set. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's too late.
yeah, I mean, like the coronavirus pandemic, whatever that was, like taught us, we're not all going to be working in an office together. We're all not going to eat lunch together. We're not going to be able to hold hands and network together. There's going to be times of isolation, and we're all used to working from home, right? And technology has to be embraced at every possible level. And so when we look at growing your business platform, there was such a lack in technology there that, I mean, look, no offense to any of I have plenty of contacts with different companies, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean to offend anybody. I swear I don't, right? But just give me the data. Then I got to go Google search, okay, what's Brian's numbers? You know what I mean? How do I contact Brian? And now I spend 15 minutes just to get the one phone number.
Right.
Whereas with Simpl CRM, we already have that in there, right? You have the personal email address. You have LinkedIn contact. You can do, we're actually about to launch Facebook campaign out of there.
Oh, wow.
So I could isolate the northeast quadrant of Texas and do a Facebook campaign for mortgage professionals. And these are the mortgage professionals we're targeting. If they have a Facebook, they're going to see my ad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's been lacking. Now, I can do all this today, but it's extra steps and extra platforms. And so why not get a quality of life?
Right.
Why not do in 20 minutes what takes me 3 hours right now?
Well, you showed me something that was super cool. Besides having, campaign capabilities, for ongoing engagement, you could leveraging an integration with ChatGPT in the platform. You showed me with a single 1-sentence prompt how to create a ad hoc, text or email message to a candidate. That's pretty cool.
So you know how that came about, right? I was going after this candidate. They text me something, and I couldn't understand the text message, right? Because as humans, we're emotional, right? So whatever emotion I'm in, I'm like, oh, Brian's pissed at me. What's wrong with Brian today? Like, I was just giving you a text, right? But I'm in that mode where I'm whatever. I actually copied that text and put it in ChatGPT on my phone, on my computer. And I said, what is this person saying to me? And it analyzed it. And I said, okay, write a response back, but don't sound desperate.
Ooh.
and it wrote a response back. I copied, edited, obviously, for a little bit thing, right? Sent it back.
Yeah.
And within, I think, 2 or 3 days, we were on a Zoom call talking about what we could do together. And I was like, hold on. There's no way Simpl CRM can't be integrated with ChatGPT.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
not possible.
No, but that's a super cool. You didn't create ChatGPT, but you've created a vehicle to connect that tool, in a way that is much more efficient. What would have taken 20 minutes if you were to go out of the tool,
Right.
Probably what you already did and described. Now you can do it as part of that integrated experience.
And it's storing all the communication. So it's storing it. So I know when I talk to the candidate last, I know that the auto campaign's on. I know what they said to me. Hey, Fob, I'm okay. I'm in a good space. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let's just stay in touch. Okay, no problem. Guess
Yeah.
what? I want to respect that. And too
Well, you're not
often,
going to you're not going to force somebody to, over the finish line, right? These are all long game relationships.
they have to be because look, I mean, and I've said this before. I'll continue saying it. Sometimes the answer is that they're already in a good place.
Yeah.
And how dare I interrupt that just to get one W for myself for that month?
Right.
It's not a good way to do business.
No. And I always found that acknowledging that is going to pay off. It may not pay off with that specific individual, but the way you treated that person is going to stick in their mind, and they may have the guy sitting across the desk for them or down the hall who's just kind of burned and looking for a new opportunity, and you just never know, right?
Yeah. I mean, the universe is amazing. You know what I mean? When you open yourself up to the universe and you try to live a karmatic life that is, full of abundance and full of giving, as we were talking about earlier, you know what I mean? There's no stopping the universe. I mean, I always tell the guys, and this is part of like growing your division, right? If you reach with your left hand, the universe may give it to you in your right hand. But
Yeah.
you got to do the action.
That's right.
You got to execute. You got to execute.
That's it.
I don't care if you don't, whatever you do, but just execute something.
Love it. Fobby, it's always good to catch up, especially good when you join my show. So now I think we're even.
That's awesome. I'm glad that I saved this little card of mine as to ask the favor for when we were able to launch Simpl CRM.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think I love the name. It's pretty simple, easy to remember. I'll put a tickler out there for 24 months from now when you're, presumably ready for public consumption, hopefully. But until then, I'm looking forward to watching the team at Homecomings, leverage and grow with this great solution, and always good to catch up with you, my friend.
Thanks so much, my brother. It was great being on here. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Come back next Friday for our next episode of Fintech Fridays. See y'all.